Oh, good afternoon. Early, or if you're on the West Coast, it's good morning. Patrick here from Cheetah Bayview, and we are early today. I do believe this will be our earliest start to an interview. This is going to be our earliest start. Wow. Um, we are going to be talking to director-screenwriter Kjell Hammero. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. We'll get the proper pronunciation once Cal gets here. He has written and directed a movie called Entombed, and this is a Norwegian film, though it is in English. This is a Norwegian film. This is our first Norwegian horror film that we reviewed, and also our first film that we properly reviewed from Bayview Entertainment. So a lot of firsts for us today here on for this show. Our first artist from Norway, our first Norwegian film that we reviewed and we'll talk about. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Um, it's really early. I don't know if I'll get anybody to come in for this one. This might be a strictly replay interview. And I knew that going in. I knew that. It is a 6 hour time difference between us and Norway. So right now it'll be 6 o'clock his time, and he'll be here shortly. Um, so I reviewed the film. Um, I thought it was I thought it was very interesting. I thought for the film, for one thing, he created a terrific villain. Whoa, his villain is one for the books. Conrad, yeah, that's one for the books. That guy is, yeah, he is not a nice guy at all. Um, in fact, if I only had maybe one other quibble, I probably would have liked to seen him suffer just a little bit longer toward the end before he gets his comeuppance. Um, but that's just me. But he created a terrific villain. Um, he made this film on $5,000, and every single penny is on the screen. Everything. Um, and how he got this movie made is pretty remarkable. His story actually reminds me of, hey, John, thanks for coming, man. I do believe, actually, John, I think you should stick around for this because I think Kel would be a perfect guest for you. I think he'd be a perfect guest for the the crypt, the Doomsday Crypt. I think he'd be a perfect guest. Um, there's no real film industry in Norway. It's very, like I said, this is sort of like talking to uh, Iva Lycos, who mentioned about the not that much of a film community in Italy anymore, and also reminds me of talking to these Muse from the Netherlands, who directed Molly and Kill Mode, and he also mentioned how there's just a lack of a film community in this country. Both distributing. Why are you doing that? Well, why will you be doing that? I mean, you're it's almost time for it's almost time for convention season. Well, before you do that, let's talk. Don't do anything hasty, please. Please, just wait till I'm done with the show here, and we could talk. Yeah, you don't want to just, yeah, don't do that. Yeah, I was actually getting ready to ask you when was your first convention so we could arrange to do an interview before you start your season. Yeah, but can you tell me why though? I mean, after the show, can you tell me why? I mean, that'd be like really sad. You've done a lot of good for a lot of people. I'm finally in a position to do it to return the favor too. I got my community tab, so now I'm able to go out there and promote other channels. I'm still learning how to use it, but I still haven't quite figured out how to do it yet. But I'm learning. Um, so Cal has made this movie. This is not. He's made some other films as well. In fact, I should probably bring that up. Talk to you about that. Um, they actually make very good horror films in the Nordic area. I have seen my fair share. There's a was an export business, I think it was called. Uh, there was that. There's Blood Paradise. That was a Swedish film I reviewed. There's another Danish horror film called Sensoria. I need to review that, but it's like the first. It was the first Danish horror film I've ever seen. Um, it's always so cool to see what how other folks see the genres that we love. I mean, yes, you could do a vampire movie, but a vampire movie is going to look always going to look different from somebody else's eyes. We're so used to seeing it from an American filmmaker's eyes, but when we see it from a foreign filmmaker like Japanese or Norwegian or Italy or whatnot, it's always going to be a little bit different. They're always going to do things a little bit more stylized or or what have you. And it's very exciting to me to be able to interview uh, directors and screenwriters from other countries because of that reason. Like this film here is this film here is a little bit different from what you expect to see from say say a normal American zombie movie. His take is a little bit different. In fact, this movie Entombed has more. It reminds me more of 10 Cloverfield Lane. It has that same vibe to it, that same tension to it, though it's supposed to be set in a zombie dystopian world. But it comes across more like 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is really cool because if you've seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, you know what I'm talking about. The dynamics, the same dynamic. It's really intense. Um, so but it'll be interesting talking to him about that and how hard it is to make a film. In fact, I just watched this week, which is ironic because I didn't plan for this to happen, but I watched a movie called Iron Sky that was made in Finland. It was made in Finland. It was it was filmed in Germany and Australia, but the filmmakers were Finnish, and you could hear them talk about how they were making their film and how hard it was for them to get the resources to make the film. They, in order to make Iron Sky, they had to have certain resources, and they really had to work hard to achieve it. And then they went on the road. They filmed the movie in Germany and in Australia. I don't think they had anything in Finland that could actually handle what they were trying to do. Now we'll be talking about that with Cal about Entombed. Um, well, thanks for coming in. I see these folks are coming in. Thank you so much. Cal will be here in about. He'll be here in about 5 or 6 more minutes. Um, this is only the first interview of the day. After we interview Kel, I'll be back tonight. I'll be back tonight to interview Eric Hyde. You might know him as Hey Internet, it's Eric. And he's a really popular and well-respected horror film community person here on the tube. And he'll be here. We'll be talking films with him. And I can't wait to talk to you about one aspect. I don't think he does. He doesn't really talk about it too much, but I'll tell you how I met Eric, because we have an interesting story how we met. It's not your typical, hey, I like your content, I'll follow you. It's not anything quite like that. It's a little bit more different. But he's a really nice guy, and really knowledgeable, and he'll be here at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we will chop it up and for a little bit before he has to go. He has become somewhat of a regular panelist on American Werewolf in New Jersey. So we won't have him for a whole log. Normally, when I interview a YouTuber, a fellow YouTuber, community member, the discussion can get a little longer than our 90 minutes. But tonight he will have, he's providing commentary on another channel. So it will be an 8 o'clock sharp start, and we'll probably let him go at 9:30. I will talk to you a little bit about the calendar. This is a calendar still cracking along here. We are still having a great month. We've had to bump some things about, unfortunately, so I'll have to work on rescheduling them. Tomorrow night we'll see our friend Michael Lysick will be here. Heroic Waffles. He'll be here on 8 o'clock tomorrow. On Thursday, we have podcaster Don Anelli from the Horror Countdown podcast. On the 24th, Monday, a special show Monday, we have Leo Oliva will be here on the 24th. And then on the 25th, we have Jamie Hart will be here. She does the Region Free Collective. She pops up there and provides input and comments and editorials. So she'll be there here with us on the 19th at 8 o'clock. And then closing out the month, we have the other half of Carousel. We have the husband and wife team of Steve Renzinski, who we've already interviewed. But I really wanted to interview her as well because she is the one that came up with Duke the Unicorn. And then, so we'll talk to her about that. Eileen Isley, and she's got a really cute YouTube channel too, which I'll be talking about too. I've been watching a little bit of it, and yeah, she's pretty fearless too. I gotta say this. That's one thing to say about Eileen. She came up with a $1 million idea in Duke, but she's also very fearless, in my opinion. I think she's innovative and she's fearless, and I can't wait to talk to her. And I'm sure we'll be having a guest appearance by Steve. I'm sure he'll pop in and say hi as well. And then in February, we're working hard on February. I'm trying to lay down trying to get a director that I've been after, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to get it in time. But the first week of February, we have actor Akeem Bozeman will be here on February 1st at 8 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, the 2nd, we have Eugene Page. He is a podcaster as well. He also co-hosted a television program that went around showing you different aspects of New York City. That was a lot of fun. And he has a really good Facebook page called Inspire You. And so we'll be talking to Eugene Page on the 2nd. And on the 3rd, we have our very first husband and wife acting team in Eric Lum and Judy Lay. And they'll be here at 8 p.m. we rescheduled Jennifer Blanc, who was undergoing a lot of static with her family, sickness and whatnot. So we had to reschedule her for Monday the 7th. So, yep. Got some other things coming up here, including a reunion with an old friend of mine that I'll talk to you about. Our guest is here, so let me go get him. Greetings, greetings.
Hello, Patrick. How are you?
Hello, Cal. Good.
Good to see you.
I was just telling folks about the calendar and you know how that goes. You know, you being a director. I mean, do you find yourself living by your calendar?
Yeah, often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See, I'm really old school. See, I do the old
Write
fashioned.
it down, right? Actually, I prefer often to write things down, whether it's schedules or even ideas, because I don't know, it just feels different to get it on paper.
Yeah,
and then I transfer it to digital afterwards. I like to draw as well as write sometimes, and sometimes I don't know. I like to often use paper instead of a computer.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I find myself wanting to write more with the computer when it comes down to writing my blog. And actually this week, for the first time in over a year, I actually did a written interview. Before I did this series like this, I did it on my blog, and it was all print. I would go ahead and ask you to do the interview, and then I would send a series of questions, and then you answer them all in your own words. And what you write is what I put up. And but I haven't done that in over a year since I started my YouTube channel. And I went to one actress and I said, you know, would you like to do an interview? And she goes, yes. So I started explaining the format, you know, and she goes, no, I don't want to do a live interview. I want to do a written interview. I was like, okay. I was game. I was like, yeah, that'll be tight because I haven't done one in forever. Yes, I agree, John. I have an actress named Jennifer Blanc coming in next month to do an interview, and it'll be my first time interviewing her. And unfortunately, in this business, you know how this goes. I mean, rescheduling is always a constant thing. You know, it's like, and so sometimes you set up for a day of shooting and something might come up. You might have to postpone it or move it around a little bit. Try not to, but sometimes you have to. Same thing goes with this. I found people's schedules are very they're not set in stone. Yeah, I was telling the folks before you got here, Cal. I was talking to them a little about Entombed, and yeah, you know, I did a post yesterday called somebody what they call a tag, and you get a tag for a topic like like your favorite mummy or your favorite your favorite fight scene or something. So someone asked what was our 10 characters in horror that we have feelings for, that we felt an emotional attachment to. And I did my 10, but at the same time I'm talking about Entombed, and I'm thinking like the 10 guys you want to punch in the nose, and you created a masterful villain here.
Well, he's a bad guy.
Oh my lord, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a keeper, all right. Conrad, man, what an awesome character you created.
Thank you.
You know, I mentioned that I sort of wish that you could have dragged his ass out a little bit longer, his death scene out a little bit longer, because he deserved it.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about you, and then we'll come back to Conrad because
sure.
Yeah, because you know what, I'm really curious about where Conrad came from, because that's not just, I'm not sure if is it a combination of an actor, is it your words, I mean, all I know is that was one hell of a character.
Yeah. Well, it's if you read if you read the script, then you really see the character there.
So it was.
And that goes for the acting in general. There's not a lot of improvisation, really. We follow the script, so it is in the script. But when I wrote the script, I really had that actor in mind, and he's also a friend of mine. He's a nice guy in the real world.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
he's a very
yeah,
nice guy
of course,
and a good actor as well. So I thought that he might wanted to do the role if he just read the script. So I wrote the script and I presented it to him, and he said yes immediately. Where the inspiration from the character comes from, really, I'm over 50 years old now, and I met a lot of different people in my life, and I think a few of them could be categorized as psychopaths, and really, it is a very classical psychopath. I think in this movie, where he has this superficial charm and can be very nice, but he always wants to achieve something, and you cannot really predict how he's going to react to things. But he has always a hidden agenda.
No, no, the actor who played Conrad. Now, is he a star in Norway? Do people know him in Norway?
No,
Well
no.
known?
No, none of my actors are stars, but they are actors. They work much with theater, and actually the one who portrays Conrad, the bad guy,
Right.
he has his education from London. I think actually went to theater school with Tom Hardy and Michael Fassbender.
Because I mean, I compare it to Entombed, because it has a lot of elements to it, but was to 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I think what really made 10 Cloverfield Lane work as well as it did was John Goodman, because nobody had seen that side of John Goodman before. Everybody has seen John Goodman as a happy-go-lucky, he's on Roseanne, and he's done all these different comedies, Kingpin and stuff like that. Everybody sees him as happy-go-lucky, no one has seen him like in a downright just. He was crazy in that movie, and he was vicious, and I think a lot of people were really like shocked at that, because that's not how they saw him. That's what made a perfect casting.
Yeah.
Because he went totally against type. And I was just wondering if the gentleman who played Conrad did he have a reputation in Norway for playing good guys, and then you had him come out and do something different and playing a bad guy.
I don't think he has ever played a role that's similar to this movie. And actually, the good guy, Jan Holden, which plays the good guy, Seamus in Entombed, he is often cast as a villain in films and theater. So I did the opposite on him, at least. But I think that when you typecast, you've seen certain actors do certain things again and again. It becomes a kind of a little bit predictable and not too exciting for the actors as well. So I think for me, it's more important how I see the actor, what possibilities I see the actors than what the actor has done before, and just try to repeat that. I try to find my own way through the. Yeah, well, try to make the actors fit in my concept, if you understand what I mean.
Well, now did you cast your? I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but we'll ask this one last question, and then we'll circle back to it. Did you do your own casting for Entombed, or did you have or do they have casting directors in Norway?
They do have casting directors in Norway, but I've done a small movie, and So I didn't have budget for anything, but actually the three main actors in the film, I thought of them when I wrote the script, and they are all friends of mine. So, and I just figured that they would say yes to do this, and they all did when they read the script.
You know
So
what? I'm glad you said that.
it was an easy casting process, really.
I'm glad you said that, because you know what? Now that I know that, oh,
Hmm.
we definitely got to go knock on the door of the gentleman who played Conrad. We definitely got to go talk to him.
Yeah,
I really liked it. I really would. I really liked it, because that he really did create a really memorable villain.
yeah,
I
it did.
mean, when people talk about like Day of the Dead, right? When they
Mm.
still talk about the Captain Rhodes. That's the first thing you think of. Is like, what do you think about Day of the Dead? What's the first thing you think of? Oh, Captain Rhodes, because he was such a bastard. Everybody remembers him. And I think Entombed is going to be, it's going to be a movie where us fans are going to be like, like name 10 villains. Oh hell yeah, we're going to talk about Conrad. That's going to make my list, because he did such a great job, and through a great script, and so yeah. Well, now that I know that, this got really interesting real quick. I guess that's really cool, though, in one sense, because your community, we talked about this. You mentioned how Norway's film community is really small. It's real small. And so I'm sure you guys cross each other's paths quite often over the same projects.
Yeah, well, I think the film community in Norway now is kind of expanding a bit, and they are doing things for Netflix now, and there are some major films being made. Uh, I live in a city called Bergen, which is the second largest city in Norway, and the main film community in Norway, where they make most films, is in Oslo, which is the capital of Norway. And actually, outside of Oslo, there's not too much going on. I don't want to live in Oslo, so we have to figure out other ways to make movies, basically.
Um, Now let's go back to your early days.
Mm.
Now, where did you get your start at? I mean, you're born and raised in Norway. Now, whereas, was it something that early on that's just something that you wanted to do? I mean, or was this something that, I mean, I couldn't be very easy to want to become a filmmaker in Norway when there really wasn't much of an industry.
No,
So
well, uh,
was
that's absolutely true, and I come from a rural part of Norway as well, and no one's making movies where I'm from. So, but I decided at a very young age. It's not a smart choice, career choice, really, in Norway to make. But I just felt that movies, that was what I wanted to work with. And I think I was 12 years old when I decided that movies, that's what I want to do. And I just, and there were didn't have any cameras or anything like that. So I started to write short stories and draw storyboards to small stories. And then I moved to the city where I now live when I was about 20, and I got into a small film community there, and got access to some equipment and just started making movies, really. So I'm self-taught.
okay.
There were no film schools in Norway back then either. So you just have to figure it out yourself. And after a while, I started making commercials and did some short films, and then things just moved on.
The commercials must have really helped. I mean, that's you learn how to work within a budget and work within a time frame. Did you learn how
Yeah,
to?
and you learn to communicate, really, because a difficult thing with film is that you can have a specific idea that means something to you, and you show it on the screen, and the audience, if it means something else for the audience. And when you make commercials, then you have to sell a product. And if you don't communicate the right message, then uh, uh, the one who pays for the commercials won't be very happy. So you kind of learn the hard way to communicate.
What did your folks feel when you told them this is what you wanted to do for a career?
Oh, that wasn't very popular. No.
No, it wasn't.
They didn't like it, but they didn't say no either. But I was hoping maybe I should be I don't know, doctor or something.
Different people have different callings, and in my, they were probably more worried for the fact that to have a living than they were like you being silly. I mean, I don't think any parent looks at what the child wants to do and says, says, yeah, whatever. Most of the people I talk to, when I say, your parents, what'd your parents think? They support it. That maybe they don't have the means to support it financially, but they support it in spirit. Like, okay, this is what you want to do, then make sure this is what you want to do, because we want you to commit to it. You're gonna have to make a commitment. And we'll back you as long as you do it. But if you say you want to do movies one month and then you want to become a wardrobe dresser the next month or set designer the next month, they won't take you seriously.
Well, and I think now it's different because there's a lot more movies being made and TV series and a lot more TV channels. They all need content for, But I wouldn't recommend anyone who's not very interested in film to start working with film, because you need to have a drive, and you need to know that it's very difficult. So if you're gonna get there, then you have to work around the clock almost.
Were you surprised to see how small and how hard it was for you to get your foot through the door?
Yeah, when you're young, you only see possibilities, and you have these great movies in your head, and then the first thing you notice is that it's much more difficult to make movies than you thought it was, because you have this great film in your head, and then, okay, here's the camera, here's the lighting, make it, and then suddenly you realize that what you're making is far from the movie you have in your head, and it takes a lot of experience and to make something that's close to what you envisioned. That's one thing, and the other thing is that there's a lot of competition. Also, a lot of people want to make movies, and you're competing with all those, and so
it's gotta be ferocious.
It's a tough business to go into, even in a small country like Norway.
I was gonna say it's got to be really. It's probably more as far as actually. I dare say it's you probably have more. It's probably more fierce there than it is here, by far. I think it's probably a lot easier to make a movie here in the States than it is in Norway.
Well, I think in the States there is. I've never been to the States, but I do watch a lot of Hollywood movies and know a lot about the film community there. In USA, it's very much an industry, a big industry, but a small country like Norway, it's more an art form. But what we do have in Norway and several European countries is a government funding of films. So it's not all private means, it's also the government goes in and supports it. But there's a lot of competition to get that money as well.
Yeah, I noticed this. I noticed that whenever I watch a film from Europe or from like Australia, there's a lot of government support. It's like this. This is funded by, like, from the Queensland, Film Fund, or from Ireland, the Irish Film Board. It's a lot of government involvement in it, because it's subsidized, because a lot of the filmmakers, they just don't have the money. They can't raise it.
And like in Norway, we have 5 million people living here, and there's no market for a big budget movie that is funded by private means. So if we didn't have it, we probably wouldn't have made much films here at all.
Isn't that something, though? I mean, think about that for a second. You have 5 million people. I mean, when you say that like that, it's 5 million people, and you think about it going like, that's like the size of New York City, and you're thinking, wow, you tell me that you can't open a film up there in Norway that can draw 100,000 people to the cinema, to watch your movie, and it's just like, it's just hard to get over that, because to me it's like but then again, it's all, then again, once you think of the reality of it, because the way Norway is spread out the way it is, then it does make sense. But you're not alone though, Kel. I mean, I've talked to several filmmakers and artists from Europe, and it's the same thing. Shockingly, um, Italy. I mean, Italy used to be like the crown jewel of European filmmaking.
Yeah, sure.
They hardly make anything now, as far as
Yeah.
film. I mean, they do TV, but they don't do
Mm.
films like they used to.
No, but it's also um, uh, the government funding at least in Norway now. There's more demands that there should be more private funding of the films. They don't support it 100%. They support it maybe 40% of the budget, and the rest or 50%, and the rest you have to find between private investors. And that makes it more difficult, but still, there are some big movies in Norwegian scale being made that are doing very well, and some of them are actually gets maybe 600,000 people into the cinemas, and then it's a Norwegian success.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But still, yet they cost maybe $5 million, which would be a very small budget in America, but that's a high budget in Norway.
Sure.
And then you have to it has to be a success to break even. And some of them don't break even, and then suddenly it's not a success.
Yeah, I guess it all depends if they can get, it's for a lot of films, the key thing now, before it used to be distributing, it's like, you make your film, now you got to sell it, so let's go to all these different festivals and hopefully we'll sell it to a distributor who can get it out there. Now you make it, now you hope that you sell it to a streaming service. And I think the coin is flipped for streaming. I mean, before they were paying top dollar because they needed anything and everything to fulfill the because streaming is a voracious animal. It always wants something new. You always got to put something new. And I think when it first started, it would take a lot more risk and show a lot more indies. Now that they have backlogs or they have their own libraries to draw upon, I don't think it's quite as they still need product, they still need films, but they're no longer going to pay fair market price. They could go up there and say, well, we'll do your movie, we'll buy your rights for your movie for $30,000, and we'll stream it for 2 years. Then you get your rights back. Well, that's not very much. That's not that much.
No, and then you get kind of ripped off a little bit, but at the same time, you might feel that you have no other alternatives. You go with the deal, and that's a shame, because then suddenly you lost money on making the film, and someone else is profiting from it.
Yeah, it is a shame. It is not right. You would think that hopefully hopefully Netflix Norway would look at like, hey, here's Kjell Hammero. He's a homegrown gentleman. He's making Norwegian films with Norwegian actors. Let's support him a little bit more. Let's give him some more money. Let's make his movie a hit, because they have that power. They can make a movie a hit. And it would be nice to see that sort of support. I mean, it used to be studios used to be able to go out there and cinemas, and the theaters used to be able to go out there and create stars and create a buzz for a movie. It just seems now there's just so much out there that you get lost in the noise, unless you have a big name star, or unless you have that $5 million budget that's going to grab the headlines.
Yeah, and I think I don't know that much about distributions. I'm very happy with that Bayview Entertainment has agreed to do the distribution on Entombed. But it seems to me that this is a small independent film, but it has done well in festivals and got some good reviews. I also saw your review, by the way. So it seems to me you liked it, and the reviews we had so far are very positive. As well, it has got several awards on festivals, but
I like
it. There are so many movies out there. It is on Amazon Prime now. It is on DVD, and it's on Vimeo on demand on different streaming platforms. But still, it seems to me that if people don't know, have heard about the film, don't actively search for the film, they won't find it either, because there's so much out there.
Well, you know what? This is really fun. See, this is what the fun thing about it is. It's like you're doing an interview like this, right? It doesn't seem, when you look on the surface of it, it doesn't seem really big. You know, here we are, you and me, 5 of my closest friends. Actually, we'll do better in replay. My interviews do really well in replay. But the fact of the matter is that when we do this, what happens is that now this movie, when the search engines come out, this interview goes up. And all of a sudden, when you type in Entombed or Norwegian films, this interview now is going to come part of it. You know, my review will be one link. Now this interview will become another link, and before you know it, it expands. You know, you now have a footprint here in America, at least. You know, before you could type in your movie's name and maybe you get it, you know, maybe a Norwegian media, but now you're getting more. And no, it's not the biggest, but it builds steady. You know, the film will get a little bit bigger, and you know, like people will talk about it, like I'll be talking about it, you know, and then I talk about it a little bit more among my peers. And we help, and you know, it's word of mouth. It's like making an independent film. You know, when you go there and you raise money for it, you're doing it piece by piece, you know, and then hopefully you put it all together, and it's a much bigger than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to do my very best to make sure it happens, because like I said before, I was talking before you got here, I was talking about the film, and it's like I was so pleasantly surprised. I thought it was such an interesting movie, and so creative. And so let's talk about your process for this movie. I mean, obviously it's not the first movie you made, because you've had a pretty busy career. You've done editing, you directed. This is your 4th film that you've directed.
No, it's my second feature film.
Feature film, yeah, but you have short films. So let's talk about the first project you worked on. What was the very first project you worked on, and how old were you when you worked on it?
You mean my first short film or something, or do you mean the first feature film?
Yeah, no, the first short film. Let's go back to the beginning. You made a short film, right?
So I don't know if I remember it. It was a kind of a silly film, you know, and it was back then before the digital things. I think I shot it in 8mm. On real film, 8mm was a camera I got a hold of. You know, it doesn't exist anymore, that format. But I don't know. It was just a silly film, but at least you get to try to shoot something and edit it, and you know, just figure out how things works. I don't think it was much of a process, really. It was just I got the equipment and I made a silly film, and then you kind of start thinking and try to make better things as you go along.
Now, when you were younger and you were doing that short film, I mean, you know, you're looking for
18 years old or 19 or something.
Now, after you made the short film, right? I mean, you're looking for experience. Did you do live theater at all? Did you ever attempt to direct a theater play or anything else to help bolster your experience level?
Actually, I was within the biggest theater in Bergen called the Nationale Scene as an extra. I wanted to see the process with the actors there. And I actually also done some work for them, but not as a theater instructor, but I have done some film sequences that they've been using in some place. So I've been into the theater, and I learned a lot from it. I didn't direct myself, but I watched a known Norwegian director do a big play. And I watched him closely, and I learned a lot from that, and also got to know the actors in the city. So I learned a lot from being into theater, but not as an instructor or director.
But you got to go around. You got the shadow thing. So you picked up what you picked up. You applied to your experience. That's shadowing. They say.
And what struck me, the difference between theater and film, it's a very different process. There's a lot of similarities because the motivations for the actions are exactly the same. But of course, you act a little bit different on theater because you're acting out to the audience. While in film, the camera and the microphone lifts it out to the audience in a different way.
Right.
But what struck me is the process the director has with actors, which is much longer in a theater play than on film. You only have a few rehearsals.
Yeah.
You go right into shooting, and sometimes the actors doesn't even know that they may be in a couple of scenes. They don't know what story they're telling even. I actually took that experience into Entombed a little bit because I wanted to have a real good process with the actors. So we actually rehearsed for 4 or 5 months on and off before we shot Entombed to get the acting right and to get the kind of feeling of the same process that you have in theater.
I got a question for you from the chat. I'm going to feed the questions to you as they come in because they asked some good questions here. Our good friend John, he says, "What's the hardest part in getting a movie done, start to finish, from funding to actors to script?" I think it's the funding, isn't it? Funding, is that the hardest part about making the movie? Is getting the money?
Yeah, but we did it for $5,000, so that wasn't really the hardest part in this film. The hardest part was to make a film for $5,000. But if we will have something, if we should do this the right way, then we probably should have a budget of $1 million. And then that would be the hardest part. But I didn't want to spend a year or two to raise that money. I just wanted to make a movie. So we settled for a very, very low budget. So then the challenge was to get actually it made on a budget of $5,000, and
amazing.
And it was shot in 14 days as well. But of course, when we rehearsed acting for 4 or 5 months before we start shooting, that helped a lot.
It's an amazing achievement. It really is. For $5,000. I've seen movies in the millions of dollars that don't look or have that same feel as Entombed. You did a masterful job there. Our good buddy Vaz is here from the UK. He says, "Hey guys, just checked out the trailer. Looks real good. We'll look it up in Prime. It's good. That's where it's playing in Prime. So yep, Entombed is on Amazon Prime." And it is a good movie, for sure. So now that you're in your you said you're 19 or 20, and you're shadowing the theater. So now that makes you feel a little bit better. Now have you always storyboarded your movies? Have you always done that?
Yeah, I always storyboard the movies. The first time I didn't storyboard a movie was actually Entombed.
Really?
Yeah, I always storyboard, and I draw my own storyboards. They're not great drawings, but they work. I wouldn't hang it on the wall or anything, but I always have been a huge fan of storyboarding. But actually on Entombed, which is so much based on character and acting, I really felt that, and I've been working with films now for 30 years, and I felt that I had control So I felt that I knew what I wanted, and I knew where to place the camera to. And all that, so I didn't storyboard Entombed. So that was actually um, storyboards are very good for planning, but it can also be it can lead to that you only try to make the film as you storyboarded, and then you might miss opportunities on the set. You could get new ideas which is outside of the storyboard.
Yeah.
And then you just thought, no, I have the storyboard, I have to do exactly as the storyboard says, and then you suddenly miss some opportunities. So I kind of gamble a little bit on this film because it's the first time I worked without the storyboard, but I think it worked out fine. I storyboarded maybe 3 small sequences, which were a little bit complicated to put together. Like you see in the opening when he goes from the ground and he goes down the ladder, and that was shot on very different places. I needed to storyboard that to not lose control of the visuals.
Now, when a director storyboards, that pretty much does eliminate room for improv, doesn't it? Because you are, yeah. Is improv a good thing or a bad thing for you, Cal? I mean, is that something that you encourage as a director, or because you're also not only a director, but you're also a screenwriter. So you got your actors that are working off your script. Are you okay with actors going off your script a little bit, or do you really like
mostly in rehearsals? But actually, it's a kind of it's a very interesting question though, because there are directors who can make amazing movies and do improvise a lot. And there's this British director called Mike Lee. He improvises a lot in rehearsals, and he basically writes the scripts as he is rehearsing with the actors, and figure out the scenes with the actors, and then he writes the script. And also, I even read now that Steven Spielberg doesn't rehearse anymore. But I'm not Steven Spielberg, so I need to rehearse. And I think that if you do a lot of improvisation, it could lead to amazing things, but it could also lead to disaster, because you have to have the right actors to do that. Because if you have an actor that loves to improvise, but you don't like any of that actor's ideas, then suddenly the scene gets destroyed. Or you might be wrong, it could be just a matter of taste. But actually, on Entombed, I decided to not do a lot of improvisation. We followed the script and we did some adjustments, just small adjustments. And of course, the choreography of the acting, that's specifically described in the script. So that we found out in the rehearsals.
Yeah, I had a feeling the script was pretty much as was, because and it was clever too. What your script was very clever, and the fact this is something that never really gets talked about too much, or you don't ever see it in the movies. But you had Conrad was asking him a question. There's a scene where he's asking him a question, and then a little bit later on, like 3 or 4 minutes down the line, he comes back and he asks the same question, but slightly different, slightly, not straight head on, but slightly to the left. He was trying to catch Seamus in a lie, but he had, and it was just something that you don't really see that much. Most of the time it's like, did you come alone? Yes. Okay. And then they move on. But you're like, so you came alone, huh? Yeah. All right. So, we are in this tomb. I got my wife over there and this and that and that. And, so how did you and your friends, where were you coming from? You and your friends, where were you coming from? I didn't have any friends, I was me. It's just by myself. And it was so clever how you had that set up. And I thought it was really refreshing. I never got the sense of improv in this movie. I never got that sense. I always got the sense that it was script driven.
It's all in the script. Just a few words, because my English ain't that good, and the main character is grown up in England. He's a Norwegian actor, but he grew up in England, so he kind of that's a bad word to use. Maybe you should use that word instead. Just small adjustments like that. But apart from that, it's all in the script. But of course, we talked a lot about the dialogue before we start rehearsing, even. So we had to figure out why does Conrad say this and why does Seamus say this, because there are some scenes that are very long, much longer than was recommended in Hollywood films, because it shouldn't be more than 3 minutes long scenes. And I have 4 scenes that are over 10 minutes long, 11, 12 minutes, which is a very long scenes. And I was really afraid that the audience would kind of not, it would be just fall off, that the audience will be able to follow it. So we really had to analyze the text and find the motivation for everything. And the reason why I wrote so long scenes was exactly because we had 14 days to shoot the film. And I knew that once you start to shoot a scene, you finish it the same day. So actually, right. 4 of the days we made about 50 minutes of the film.
Yeah, you can't really leave especially since there's so many important.
It was for practical reasons I wrote so long scenes, but then we had the challenge of finding out how to do this without the audience, so the audience can follow it.
Looks like we have one of your. I think you might know this person. They seem to know you.
Ivan, yes, it's I teach at the film school, and Ivan, he's a former student, a very nice guy, and he just had a film last year on a festival.
Okay.
Yes.
He just the one that he said hello and says, "Do you work on any new feature films project?" I think you're out just promoting this one right now, right?
Yeah, but I do have two feature film projects actually that I'm working on.
Oh, good.
I do have the scripts. They're in Norwegian for now, but I'm working on translating them to English.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That was you mentioned that when we talked earlier, and that was really fascinating to me. Is that you decided to film your movie in English instead of Norwegian?
Yeah.
Now, why was that?
Well, it is the what I talked about earlier. It's a small country, it's a small market, and really, if you make a feature film and you don't get it up in the cinema in Norway, then the project is basically dead. And you maybe spend 2 years of your life making a movie, and then I want the movie to get out. And there are few distributors in Norway as well, so maybe 6 or 7 distributors, and then the opinion of 6 or 7 people will decide the fate of my film. And if they all say no, then I have nothing. So I just decided early on I have to do it in English. And to get the film out in the cinema today is very difficult for anyone, if it's not a blockbuster superhero movie or a drama film that has at least been nominated for Oscar or something, then it's very difficult to get it out up on the cinema. I wanted to get the film out in the world.
Well, I really am grateful for. I'm really grateful that you were able to find a distributor like Bayview Entertainment, who came in and took over the film, and they made a conscious effort to push the film to land it. They put it out on DVD.
Yeah.
Physical media as we know it, it's disappearing. It's receding a little bit. Before you can sit there and I can sit here and tell people you can go out to any big store and buy this movie. Now I have to tell them that they have to go to Bayview Entertainment because I really don't know where I could send people to buy your movie. I don't know where the service is.
On DVD, of course, you have to go to Amazon, or I think it's available in stores in USA and Canada, I believe.
Maybe hopefully Walmart. Hopefully.
I think so. I'm not sure. I think it is. I've seen some ads that they've done, which is it should be available on Walmart.
Yeah,
but also on Amazon Prime, it's only available in USA, Canada, and England, I think, and Germany and Hungary, I think. But on Vimeo on demand, it's available worldwide.
Yeah, demand. I think on demand is going to probably be the way to go for physical. I mean, eventually it's going to be where, I already know that one company that does that, and that's Warner Brothers. They do that on demand service where it's like if I want to get a copy of Entombed, I just go to the website and I say I'll buy my copy, Say they say they're selling it for $15.99, and then you put in your order and they manufacture that one copy and they send it out to you.
Yeah.
It seems to be that's the way it's going to go, because as far as here in the United States, buying physical media is rather difficult. It's not easy to do.
Mm.
Yeah, it's unfortunately. I mean, we think it'll change, but we just don't know when it will change. We think it will go back to, because especially once the streaming services like Netflix just raise their prices in the U.S., they're going to raise their prices up. And as far as people who love buying DVDs and whatnot, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. The
Yeah.
more they raise the prices up, the more people probably will say, I don't want to pay that for something I don't own. I don't own anything. I'm just watching it,
Yeah.
and it's like, a lot of people, like everybody here in this chat right here, and myself included, we want to own. We want to own it. We want to be able to, if I feel like watching Entombed right after this interview, I want to be able to go and grab my copy and go downstairs and watch it. I don't want
Yeah.
to be at the mercy of a streaming service who might not have it, might not be playing it.
I actually just want to mention that I think on Vimeo on demand you can rent it or you can buy it, and if you buy it you can download it. But of course it's not a physical format, but still
Right.
that's a possibility, though.
Well, we're encouraging people to buy it. I want them
Yeah.
to own it. I
Yeah.
don't want. Renting is okay, but I don't want them to rent it. I want them to own it, because this movie deserves to be owned. And if you're a horror film fan, if you say you're a horror film fan, then you need to get this movie. I'm telling everybody that right now. You don't want to rent it. You want to own it. So you made the film into English. Wow, this is, again, it sort of staggers me that like only 6 or 7 people could decide the fate of your film. That seems to be a lot of power for not very many people.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it is here, and yeah. So at least that's my experience from. I did a feature film in 2002. And there was really just a few people who said no, and the project went dead, and I didn't want to experience that again, because it's too much work making a feature film.
It is. It is. Now, how much do you write? I mean, we mentioned at the top of the show, you write on paper, like I keep my calendar. How often do you write? Do you set time aside every day to write a little bit, or do you just write whenever the spirit moves you?
Well, maybe mostly the last, because I'm not just a writer, I'm a director as well, So when I have, like now, I have 2 scripts that I'm working on getting a producer for. Then I'm very focused on that work. So I don't write very much now, because it takes a long time to make a movie. So if I have 15 scripts, I will only be able to make one film in every 3rd or 4th year. So, but when I do write, I work very intensively. Like Entombed, I wrote in 3 or 4 weeks, and then I just sat and wrote every day for many hours each day, because it's very high concentration work to write a script, and when you get into it, I cannot let it go, but you get exhausted by it,
Mm-hmm.
So when it's finished, you kind of you need to rest on it. But at least that's how I work. But I know writers who work a little bit every day, and if you work as a writer, that's probably a good way to do it. But people are different, and I'm more like I work very intensively when I start working, and get it finished, because I'm in a thought process, and I can't let that thought process go. I have to keep up the pace in the work.
You get a lot of films solicited to you, Cal? Do a lot of people send you scripts even if you don't ask for them? Do they still,
No, not many. I'm not a known director, so I'm not sure, and here in Norway, not too many people have heard of Entombed even in Norway.
Well, I think that's going to change because I had this discussion with another artist, and and I said, there's not very many people that can take a movie like they had their movie to come out, and their movie was being sold here in the United States. They were an actor in the UK, and all of a sudden it's like your movie is here in the UK, in the United States, being sold on the shelves, right? I
Hmm.
mean, you are here in America, and I think if wherever Bayview puts this movie at, people are going to find it, and I think you are going to become a name. People are going to recognize your name a lot more now as the movie gets out there, as it continues to get rolled out and get discovered. I do think that will happen for you. I do think so.
I
Um,
hope so. It will certainly help my new projects.
um, yeah, I want to ask about the new projects, but I don't think you have them up yet, so we can come back
It's a
to
little
that.
bit early to talk about them, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to yeah, because we don't, it's premature. But let's talk
Mm.
about Entombed a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
where did you come up with the idea? You wrote the script in 3 or 4 weeks, you said, but was the idea just like a bolt of thunder? I mean,
No,
were you out for a walk, or did it just hit you suddenly, or?
it almost never is. You have to sit down and work, and even if you get a writer's block, you have to just sit down and work to solve things. So no, it was more like I've been working as a teacher at a film school for the past 13 years, and I felt that now, when the digital revolution of filmmaking has come, there's not really an excuse to not make a movie anymore. So I just decided I wanted to make a movie. But you need to have a script, and I knew I have to do it low budget. So I started a little bit backwards. I decided on a lot of premises before I started to even write or think of an idea. I knew I needed to limit the amount of locations. So most part of the film is one location, because what's most time consuming is to move between locations. So that's why it's a one location type of movie. And also I decided I cannot have more than 3 characters. And then I actually started to look for a very good location. I felt I needed a very good location to work out from. So I found the location and decided upon the actors before I actually started to figure out what can I do with this.
Was
And
that location?
then create the characters and the dramatic goals and obstacles and everything. And it's not one specific idea that it came from. It came from a lot of different stuff.
Now, was that shelter that you filmed Entombed at? Was that like on a former military base?
No, it's all cheating. Actually,
No, you just ruined it for us. Uh,
well, it is a real location. It's in the
yeah,
center
yeah,
of the city.
yes, I
Where I
know.
live.
Yeah, you shot on location. It looked
Yeah.
very cold.
Well, and actually, it's under a church.
Oh my God, really?
So where we filmed, that's the ruins of the home of the Archbishop of Bergen from the
Oh,
1200s, and there's a church built on top of it. So we actually made a horror film on
on
holy
church
ground.
ground. Yeah, on holy ground.
Yeah,
Hell yeah! That's what we say to that, right? We say, hell yeah, that's a good thing.
with zombies and everything. So that was fun.
Um, yeah. So I mean, like I said, I mean, was the idea come to you just was it inspired by any were you watching it? I mean, I said before, like
Well,
was it just
well
you
and
watch
like
a movie, or I mean, just I mean, it's just a good idea. It's just wondering, what caused you, because there's so many different ways you can go. It,
well, of course, when you write any screenplay, you have to work out from yourself, even though you're making a fantasy in a way, because you want to connect with the audience emotionally. And so there are personal things that I was not in a good place in my life when I wrote that script, because I had a girlfriend and she died. from illness. So I sat down and wrote the script after that, and of course, if you look at, I don't want to give too much away of the movie, but there is something with the structure of the film which is very related to the situation I was in then.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
it all starts. I can at least talk about the start of the movie. I think my image froze up. Do you still see me?
Yep. Yep. I see you.
Okay.
Let me see if I can fix that.
No, I just need to know if I'm still on.
Yes, you're still on.
Yeah. So, when
what you can do is you can go ahead and you can back out and come back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I leave and get back again, then I should.
Yep. I'll be
a couple of seconds then.
Sure. Man, what a fantastic guy. His movie's that good too, folks. I'm telling you now. John, you mentioned about buying a copy of this. This movie is that good. It's very I mean, you'll be amazed what he did for the money. Let's see. Oh, okay. John, you're gonna do a movie. Whoops, that didn't work. If you can hear me, Kel, try it again. Yeah, I'll buy your movie when you come out with it. Yeah, especially if you cast Hobbs as the Pumpkin King. Maybe you can make Attack of the Killer Donuts Part 2. Let me see if I can go tell Cal to try it again. I don't. Oh, there he is. Whoops. Okay. Why don't? I might have to send him another link. Cal, let me send you another link. Hold on. I don't know why. Let me. We're doing so well too. Our first trip to Norway, perfect stream, perfect everything. Gosh darn it. Huh. I don't know. He couldn't come back. He couldn't come back in through the to the door I gave him. So I'm gonna, just in case, I'm gonna go ahead and yeah. Let me send him that. Okay. All right, here we go. Got him back.
Hi, there we are.
Got you back. Got you back. I pulled a MacGyver. or more of a MacGruber, I guess.
Yeah.
My friends would tell me I'm far more of a MacGruber than I am a MacGyver.
Yeah, but you got it to work eventually, so great.
That's right. All I need is some chewing gum and baling wire, and I got it fixed. Uh, so so here we are. We're talking about Entombed. You came up with the script. Was it always going to be just a character-driven movie, or did you have hopes of it to be in a bigger movie? But the budget dictated did the budget dictate the characters be limited to three characters, or did you hope to have more?
Well, I knew before I started to write the script that I had to make a low budget movie. So it's all about defining the limitations and then just stick to it. So of course you always want to do more, but you get a lot of ideas that you have to kind of get rid of because you know you can't do it. There's no point in planning it because you know you cannot do it. So, but of course, there were a lot of ideas I had that I knew that I couldn't do. But if I had more time and resources, that I would have put in the script. But I knew before I wrote the script that it wasn't possible. So, but you know, I'm pretty realistic when I start making movies. You know, you have to relate to you have to know what's possible and what's not possible within the framework you have.
That seemed to be a very cold and tough shoot. I mean, you know, the movie seems to be, you know, mostly, you know, because it's, you know, it's such a small location. I mean, did you shoot the whole thing at night, or did you cheat as well?
Well, actually, when you're inside that place, there are no windows, so we could shoot in daytime because there was no daylight coming in. So, and I saw that as an advantage as well, really, because then you don't have to consider either the weather or the lighting conditions. You know, you create everything with your own lighting equipment, and you don't have to worry about snow or rain or whatever.
Right. That must have been really helpful too.
It's almost like shooting in a studio because you have control over the environment, and that was also something I thought of. We need to have a situation where we can control the environment so we can work effectively all the time. But when it comes to the limitations that I have to relate to when I made the film, I would also say that when everything is limited, you don't have many possibilities. That also creates a creative spark. You know, you think of solutions you otherwise wouldn't think of, and sometimes they could be very good solutions. If you have money, you wouldn't even consider doing it that way. But sometimes there comes something good out of that as well. That you don't have a lot of possibilities because you have to be more creative in the solutions.
When you were writing it, you know, when you wrote this, you know, when you started filming it and you started watching your dailies, I mean, how impressed were you? Did you see? Is that the Conrad that you saw in the movie? Is that the same character that you wrote, or was that the actor who gave him that life? I mean,
well, of course, he gave him that life, but when I wrote the script, I thought of him specifically as an actor, and that's really helpful when I write the script. That I actually, and I know him as a friend. I known him for many years, and I kind of know how he talks and how he can do it. So it's very close to what I had in mind. But of course, as an actor, you know, things comes to life. And you have to really know as well that it will never be exactly what you thought it should be. It's always a little bit different in your head than what comes out. And sometimes, very often, it comes out better than I thought as well. So
do you do that for every film that you're doing? I mean, your two films you're working on right now, did you write specifically for the actors that you're going to cast in it?
I always think of specific actors when I write, but I don't expect it to be those actors in the end. But it helps me in the writing to have an idea of an actor.
Right.
But like in Entombed, it's kind of different because it's such a small film, and it was three of my friends. They said yes, and I kind of expected them to say yes as well, and they did. But in the other films that I'm planning, it's not this type of a low budget movie, and I wouldn't expect it to be the actors that I thought of when I wrote it if I get them made. There will be a different casting process, and producers might be involved and have opinions about it and stuff like that. But I always think of an actor when I write, because simply because it helps the writing. Yeah.
I like that. This is set in in a dystopian future. I like the fact, the idea. This is, I talked about this. I really like the idea that the fact that you kept your walkers as walkers.
Mm.
I thought that was really old school, and I appreciated that as a horror fan. I appreciated that you did that. You kept them. More. It's more scarier for me as a fan to watching a walker walk slowly on you than run at you. And I just thought I thought your vision was spot on for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really a huge fan of zombie films, but of course, then I had to end up making a zombie film. But when you do something, you have to do it. Try to do it as good as you can. And I did study a lot of zombie films and also articles about it. And I decided on just like you said. To me, it's more scary. They have problems walking. The muscles are so weak that the head is kind of hanging like this. If they adjust the head up, it falls back the other way. It kind of suggested to me. It suggests a slower death. Being attacked by them. Rather than evil monsters running around, and in some films they even start talking now. I don't know. I don't find it scary. It's more scary that they are. Kind of as weak as they are, but there are so many. You're outnumbered, and it's kind of a more horrific death. It's not a quick death being attacked by those. It's horrible. And then I started to study a little bit of the old George Romero films and how he did it, and read interviews with him. But I also thought that I wanted to. Which is from my own mind, you have to make your own versions of things, and I wanted them to look starved. So I got all my strange friends, weird friends, to be zombies, and they were all thin. I'm not a thin guy, but the ones I cast were very, very, very thin, and I wanted them to look starved. I didn't want them to have blood like you see in a lot of low-budget zombie films. You use a lot of blood because it makes the makeup easier. But I wanted them to really look starved, and not that they're evil, but it's more like they're in agony and pain.
Right.
So that was my take on it. And if they got to attack someone, it would be like getting a painkiller that works for an hour, and then they're back in agony and pain again. I thought that could make it more horrific.
Yeah, it's more horrific than you well, no, you do realize. I know what you're saying. Oh, that's yeah. I'm sitting here thinking about that. Well, yeah, that's I see what you're saying.
Mm.
Since Norway doesn't really have that big of a film history or whatnot, who were some of your inspirations? I mean, who inspired you as a filmmaker?
As a filmmaker, well, like in with many people of my generation, it was Spielberg and Lucas, when they started in the 70s, and I got aware of them in the early 80s, and that kind of set things off for me. But as I've been working with film for a long time now, I do have a lot of favorite directors and filmmakers. Many of them are American. I think Steven Spielberg is just a genius. He can make anything, and he never makes a bad movie. But also like Brian De Palma and Martin Scorsese and all those great American directors, and also like European directors like Ingmar Bergman, the Swedish master.
Yes.
And Federico Fellini from Italy. You mentioned Italian films earlier. and Krzysztof Kieslowski, which was a French-Polish director. Roman Polanski, who makes basically more Hollywood films, but he's a great director as well. And also a little bit alternative directors like David Cronenberg and David Lynch, which is on his own
Both those
planet.
guys are both those guys
It's awesome, you know. So I have a lot of I have a lot of different directors that or filmmakers I'm inspired by.
What kind of I mean, if you had a budget of let's say, this for the hell of it, let's say you had a $50 million budget. Let's just say someone came out that says, you know what, we're going to give you $50 million, Cal, make whatever you want. What would you make?
Oh, I don't know.
What type of film would you want to
do?
I know you thought about it. Any artist does.
Yeah, but not in that range of, you know, I'm so used to making low budget movies. I'm thinking very practical on it as well as artistically about it. So, but actually, I do like, I like thrillers a lot.
Yeah.
Good thrillers. And actually, you said that Entombed is a horror movie, and that's the way it is been promoted by Bayview. To me, I don't know how you feel about it, Patrick, but I think it's more like a psychological thriller with some horror elements to it.
Definitely psychological thriller. That's why I mentioned 10 Cloverfield Lane, because 10 Cloverfield Lane it's a psychological horror film. Very much. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, actually, the thing is, when people read the script, they said this kind of reminds me of Cloverfield Lane, and I thought, then I'm not going to watch it, because I don't want to be influenced by it before because I have to make my own movie. So I watched it after we shot it, and I'm glad I didn't watch it beforehand, because I probably will even unconsciously maybe get ideas from there. And if they said that the script had some similarities, I didn't want it to. I thought if I just made it the way I thought I should make it, then it probably wouldn't feel that similar.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't watch it either, because I would not want anything to stop you from making this film. This is its own film. Entombed is its own story, and whereas, you know, like as crazy as John Goodman was, and he was in Cloverfield Lane. Yeah, well, Conrad scares me a hell of a lot more. I mean, because he's really out there. I mean, he's way out there. I love the character. I think he was, you know, I'm like, wow, you know, here I am, you know, I don't think I should be comparing Conrad to John Goodman's character. I should be comparing John Goodman's character to Conrad. That's how I feel about it, because you created such a memorable character. But I'm glad you made it, and I'm glad you made it. You did the way you did, because it is a psychological horror film. You know, I didn't see it as a zombie film at all. I do see it as a psychological horror film, but it does have zombies in it, and you know, unfortunately, it's like people react to the word zombies more than psychological horror. I don't know why. And he's like,
but really, I thought a lot about this because the story is about the conflict between the three characters, and not between the characters and the zombies. The zombies are just a backdrop, and really, the reason I actually thought of maybe there was an alien invasion, and I'm so glad I didn't do that, because then it certainly would be too close to a Cloverfield Lane. But I just needed. I chose zombies for practical reasons, because it's such a big part of popular culture now. Sure. But I just need one scene to show that they are there without any explanation. Okay, it's a zombie apocalypse, so I can make that create that isolation for the characters just in one scene. If I chose something else, I'd probably be using 4 or 5 scenes to explain what the threat was.
No, you made your point. I mean, you made your point, you know, with the shots that you used. I mean, it gets over really easily. I mean, you know where you're at, what's going on, or what have you. And then, you know, then you find out that what Conrad has really been up to, and you really find out how loopy that guy is. So, I mean, I like thrillers too. I mean, I'm a big thriller guy. I like a good excitement, good chase or whatever. So there's always room for good thrillers. Um, yeah, and Steven Spielberg, you're right. I mean, he's a really good model. He's a really good. I know a lot of people really admire his work. He doesn't make as many films as he used to. He's getting older, but he still's got a good touch. He still knows his way around a camera.
Oh yes, and he does different things. Also, most directors at a certain age, they find their way of making movies, and they kind of repeat themselves. But I feel that he's renewing himself all the time. Even now he's out with West Side Story, and it's made a musical suddenly. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to the cinema and watch it.
Now,
So,
you say you also teach.
Yeah.
Where do you teach at?
Well, it's a school that's located in the city where I live, which is called Noroff, and there's a 2-year film course there. So I teach writing and directing.
Are there a lot of students there, Cal? I mean, is there a lot of interest? A lot of young people coming out there to learn this.
Yeah. So like the one who asked the question here earlier, Ivan, he was actually a student. I think he was finished with the school just a few months ago, I think. It is now we have I think 50 students.
Wow, that's awesome, isn't it?
There are 30 in the first year and 20 in the second year, something like that.
But they're out. But they're going. You're building your industry. You're building your talent pool. Pretty soon, someone's going to actually sit here and talk to me, and they're going to sit there and say they were inspired by you.
Yeah, well, maybe. I hope so.
I think that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think we can end it right there. I think we can end our discussion right there. Because I always like to leave people wanting more, and I have more questions. But you know what? I want to have you come back when your next movie starts filming. I have an idea. I'm always thinking of ideas. Where right before you get to start your film, I want you to film a day in the life of, and then come and talk about it. Talk about your pre-production schedule. Would you be willing to come back and talk to us about that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that would be really cool. I'd like to see what the process in action. Like a table read or something like that. I'd love to see how that works.
Yeah.
And I will get in touch with you outside of the interview because I do want to speak to your cast if I can.
Yeah, sure. And I'm sure
now that I know that you're friends with them, I'm going to do that. I'd like to thank my chat very, very much. You guys I've seen you guys been flying and whatnot. Let me see if if you guys want to ask some questions for Cal, I'll be willing to send those to him. I know you guys are really chatting it up. Let me see if they had any questions for you, Cal. I'm sure they did. Oh yeah, I did. I left the link there for you, John, for Bayview. So if you want to buy Entombed, I left the link there. I'll leave it again too, in the description. Oh yeah, Jamie is our local David Lynch expert. If you have any questions about David Lynch, Jamie will know about it. Yep. See, John's gonna be making a movie here. Doomsday's gonna be making a movie. You can come in when I do that interview, Kel. I'll send you the link for that, and you can come in and we'll because I'll be talking to Jamie about David Lynch.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Okay, I don't see any questions. Do you guys have any questions for Kel? Any questions about his career or making films in Norway? Give him a chance to come up with something. I know somebody will come up with something. So how often now that the movie's over with, do you have a media? Do you have a and your media, do you have a film community media? Or do they ever write? Have you been interviewed by anybody in your country about your career yet?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I've been actually in Entombed. There was a couple of articles written by a paper in my hometown. So and the film I did 20 years ago, there was a lot of things being written about it back then. That's 20 years ago.
Do you think that how important is promotion to you? I mean, when you do sit down and do an interview, do you realize do you realize the importance of it? Do you think directors and other artists realize the importance of good press, of doing press or doing interviews, or do you think that some people just think of it as more of they don't really give much thought into it?
Well, I think they're probably like me, that I really don't, it's like me. I think most people just want to make a good movie, and then when the movie is finished, then you just hope that it's going to get picked up and going to be a huge success. So this is the first time I'm doing this process, really, and but I do understand it's very necessary. And anyway, I love to talk about my own movie, so it's not a problem. But so I learn a lot now from Entombed on about distribution and how important it is to be in interviews and to reach out in different medias to talk about your movie, So, but it's new to me, and I think most directors. Filmmakers think the same as I was hoping for when I made my movie now, that it just picks up and everything goes by itself. But there's a lot of work that has to be done after the film is finished.
Yes, yeah.
And it's not
it is
out of it.
It's a lot more to it other than that's a wrap. You have to you have to edit it, you have to score it, you have to market it, you have to go out and play festivals, you have to get it sold. I mean, there's a lot there to be, that's why he said, when you said about a movie being a long process, it's not the actual making of the movie, because he shot the movie in 14 days, right? That's the easy part. The hard part is editing it and putting it together and putting the score in and finding the distributor and doing the press and and everything else. It's that part of it is the drudgery part. Before is finding the financing. That's you have to get out there and you have to go out and pitch your movie over and over and over. It's and like you said, in your country, in Norway, it's just several times more difficult. I can see that. I can see what you're telling us. I can see that it's a lot more difficult in Norway to do this than it is here in America. Well, hopefully, though, Cal, a movie like Entombed will come out there and get some good press and get some heads buying it and seeing it and talking about it, and more importantly, being seen on streaming. I mean, people watch it and they'll talk about it, and then you'll reap the benefits from it. That's always the goal.
That's true. Yes.
Elvin's asking a question. Says, how much experience should you have before you make your first feature film? That's a really excellent question. I'm really interested in hearing that.
That's a very good question, and I think that there are two ways of thinking about two ways of approaching that. Actually, I think that if you make a lot of short films or commercials or whatever, you get a lot of experience, and you also find out who you want to work with, and you build a crew, maybe even actors you like to work with, and then you then it's a bigger chance that you will make a good feature film. But if you go out and make a feature film without a lot of experience, then there's a good chance that the film won't be very good, but you will have an exceptional experience. So the next one will be better, I think. And I think that the problem is that some people go out and they make their first feature film because the film is great in their head, and it doesn't come out that good. and then you kind of get the disillusion. You kind of lose your spark, and I'm not going to do movies anymore. It's just too hard and too much work. So you have to survive the first feature film.
I'm with you.
And get going with the next one, because the next one will be a lot better. And if you make short films and commercials and stuff like that, to go over to the feature film format will be a shock anyway.
Yeah.
You don't really know what it is until you've been through it once. And I did my first feature film in 2002. And I was so stressed, and we came through it, but I was really stressed about everything. And when I made my second feature film, which I've done now, I wasn't stressed at all, because I knew what I was going into. So I don't really have an answer which is better, because I think the first time you make a feature film, it will be kind of a shock experience. But once you've been through it once, then and you still have the energy to make another one, then you could expect the next one to be a lot better, and the process to be a lot better as well.
As an amateur, and I do mean this in the broadest way possible, as an amateur film reviewer, I find it that it's best that directors make short films. I think it's always better to make short films to cut your teeth on, and to work, and to work out your problems, work out your how to set up a shot, locations, and all that. I think too many directors that come out doing their feature film for their first film, you're absolutely right, Kjell. I think they crash and burn more often than not.
That's
very hard. Especially the ones who are actually the screenwriters and directors. They're the ones that even struggle the worst, because to me, it's because here you're responsible for writing the script and then directing the film, and there's always going to be rewrites. So I mean, I've seen directors who've actually admitted to doing this. Like we're writing scenes during the night. We're doing rewrites during the night for their first feature film, and they don't have their script down right. They don't have it tight. They're still fluid. How in the hell can you make a good film when your actors are acting off of a script that you just rewrote? And it's just like, wow, you're expecting a lot of them. And a lot of these folks that do their movies like that, they don't have an experienced cast, and it just causes
I also think that a problem is if the dialogue isn't good, and it's not organical, then even good actors can make it good. And I think that's also a problem for first-time feature filmmakers. Could be that the script is too weak, and really, when you make a low-budget movie, really a good script is the most important tool you have to make a good movie. Then at least it can be a good movie. So I think that to work out a very good script is the most important thing, because then at least you have a foundation to work on that could result in a good movie. If the dialogue and the situation are not organic, then even the best actors can't save it.
No, you're right. I mean, they can't. I mean, even the most experienced, if you're sitting there writing your script, they're expecting one script one way, and then you come in and rewriting it for the next day. Of course, it's going to go off anyway. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Christopher Walken or Helen Mirren or anybody else like that. It's still going to be, especially how their process works. It's still going to be really, really rough. Let's see. Jamie says dialogue has to be good for it all to work. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Marketing well is key. Yep. Elvin says thanks for the advice, Kjell. Yep. So yeah.
Good to be here with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right then. Again, thank you again to the chat. Thank you again, Kjell. We're gonna come back and do this again when you enter pre-production. We'll stay in touch, and thank you so much for doing this interview with us. I hope you had a lot of fun. I hope the questions were good enough.
Thanks for having me on, Patrick.
Yeah, I was. It was a lot of fun. Um, I'll see some of you guys later tonight at 8 o'clock when we come back with Eric Hyde from Hate Internet. It's Eric. We'll be back at 8. All right. Until the next one. Peace. Stay right where you're at, Cal.